afternoon. My name is Jerry Paul, and I am the team leader for the Benton collection group. And I've noticed that a lot of my members and probably a lot of your members have been struggling when you got your labels the other day of how do you cut up these labels. Well, people are using scissors. I've seen people using these kinds of mat knives. This one actually locks so that it holds the blade in.
And it's also in Oregon Bee Atlas colors.
It's an Oregon Bee Atlas color, you're correct. The dollar store sells these little tiny guys, which are a little bit easier, but if you press on that guy, it doesn't have a lock on it. So we have a problem with that one. And then we have the one that's in my carpenter's belt that people are using. It locks, it's got a nice sharp blade on it, but there's a better way. An X-Acto knife. These are available at Michael's or other hardware stores. This one's probably 50 years old. I used it when I was in college and majoring in architecture, but they still sell these. You can see it's got a very sharp pointed blade on it, and it is extremely sharp at the point. So we're going to take this, and this is our tool, because when you hold this tool, you hold it as a pencil to cut, and you've got total control over it. When you're using one of these things, look, I got my fist over it, and I have not a whole lot of control, and I want to put a whole bunch of pressure on it. The idea with these labels is to use a light pressure, and we're going to demonstrate that in a moment.
All right.
First thing you're going to do is you're going to get a board. This one is, you can start maybe to see the lines that are cut in this. I use glass at home, a piece of glass, because it doesn't get these lines. Your blade is going to eventually follow these lines if you hit them. So what I'd like you to all to do, this is just a piece of cable top that I was extra, and you can use it for a while. I used it for 1 year. This year I turned it back over. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our labels, and on the right hand margin, if I can find the end of the tape here, we're going to tape this sheet down. If you have a full 8.5 by 11 sheet, you're going to put the piece of blue tape the entire length of the sheet, leaving yourself a little bit of margin there where you're going to do the cut. It's about halfway through the tape. You can see the line on the tape right there. See the line right there. So you want to leave that space because that's part of your label. Okay? The other thing we're going to do is we're going to try to find a metal straight edge. Seen people using plastic straight edges. The reason a metal straight edge is better is because a plastic straight edge, when you're going down with your knife, if the plastic gets caught in the knife blade, it's going to cause your blade to go away from the label. So a metal straight edge is what I recommend with your X-Acto knife. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to line up to get rid of this white part out here is my first cut. So I'm going to go up just above that, and the real key is hold the metal straight edge down and do not move it until you're all the way cut through the piece of paper. Do not try to cut through the piece of paper on the first pass. That's why you tend to go away from the paper or cut the label. Just score that really easily to the right about the blue tape. Go back and do it again, and very lightly, and pretty soon after you do a number of these labels you're going to be able to feel the surface. I just felt the surface underneath here, and I try. Okay, it's not all the way cut. Do it one more time. One more time. Patience. For some reason it doesn't want to cut right there. Okay, so now we've got that whole label, and that's a bad piece anyway, so we don't need that. Okay, so now we got to be really careful. We split the distance between the labels. Just eyeball it. Hold your straight edge down. Your first score. Your blade will follow that first score from then on if you're really careful. That's 2, 3, I I'm starting to feel the board in a couple spots. 4, there's 5. Take my blade and lift that up, and it's all cut. You can move it down to the next one. 1, don't get in a hurry just because the first one's done. 2, 3, 4. I can start to feel the board. There it goes. 5. Not quite. Do not ever move your straight edge. Okay? So now, this is what your sheet's going to look like when you're all finished.
Pretty.
It's got a nice little thing and a hula skirt on it for you. Okay? Now what do we do with this? Because Cody is such a great printer, and Anthony has done this for him, printing these labels out, the labels are numbered from left to right, top to bottom, which is really cool because that's the way your bees are in your box. So the next thing we're going to do is try to find some scissors that are a little bit better than these kinds of scissors. These are kind of big, they're kind of wide. There are a bunch of... I found a pair
Ooh.
that are really cool little guys.
Those are amazing.
And I've been told that if you go to some of the fabric stores, they use a lot of these kinds of small scissors for knitting, cutting the ribbon and stuff like that. So look for a pair like this. You can see how thin that is and how small they are. So the first thing I'm going to do in my bee box now, my first label that I have is 70, and my first number 1, and I have 1 bee. So I go now to my labels, and my first label here,
Oh, let me get it up.
okay, this first label is the one I want.
Oh, just hold a sec. Okay, we see 70 there, and it says B number 1 by the date.
Okay?
Okay.
I cut the rest of the label again. We want you to have the label facing in that direction. The bee facing in the same direction. Center of the label, and just push it down as far as it will go on the foam. That's as far as we would like the label to be on that particular specimen. And you're done with that bee. Okay, I had to take a coffee break. I don't have a bunch of labels all scattered over that I cut with a pair of scissors laying here and don't know where they are. When I come back now, I've got on my next set here is 71, and I have 3 bees. 70, 1, 1, 2, and 3. So on my labels, over here on this side, you can see we've got 70, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So all I do this time, again, is I cut 1 label at a time. You're going to be a lot more careful than I am. But there's that one. The label will face in that direction. Take your bee, face it in that direction, push it down just as far as the pin will go into the foam, and you're done. There's your second bee. We're going to do 2 more because I've got 2 more bees. I don't even have to worry about where I got the bee, or if I cut up a bunch of labels and they're laying all over the table, I don't have to look for them because they're attached to my blue piece of tape and ready to go whatever the next label is. Trim that back a little bit so that it's not so much white on the edges. Okay, what we're going to do is to fix these still, down to the bottom, the B should be facing the barcode. My mistake. And we're going to switch these B's around so that they face the barcode. And see, I don't even have to worry anymore about where they are, because they now have their label. The reason that we want the label at that height, just the thickness of the foam, is so that Link, when identifying these, and needs to turn the B over, or you do, to do identification, the label is not in your way. We can always push the label up later when you get an ident label on there. Okay? So now, here's what you've got. You can put it in your file until you're ready to do the rest of the B's in your box, and you're not going to lose any of these. And I think that if you like that method, use it. If you don't like that method, the reason I use the smaller scissors, look at how this is okay if you're used to these, but I think the little scissors get you up closer to what you're doing. They're narrower and you can see better where you're cutting. Remember, put it in the box, barcode facing up, B facing the barcode, push down as far as the foam will allow, and you're done. Congratulations. We're all now label cutters.